Hello, this is Rich with Mission Excel, giving you some more tech tips to get you through your day. Today we're going to look at conditional formatting in Google Sheets. It's a little different with Excel. We're going to look at it in Google Sheets today. What I love about conditional formatting is that it's a way to make information, a way to make your data pop to somebody who's looking for information very quickly. It's very flexible. We can make the data appear differently depending on what someone wants to see or something that's important. And these can range from the very simple, such as is the cell empty or does it contain data? That's the easiest kind. Or is it equal to the highest value in that range of cells? Is it above a certain number? If it's a date, is it before or after a certain date? If it's a name, does it contain these particular letters? Maybe we want to point out anybody who's got a certain last name and just highlight their information very quickly. It's a very versatile thing, and I think the more you, like anything with Google Sheets, the more you play around with it, the more you try to have fun with it, the more you're going to learn. I'm going to keep this as simple as possible. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions that arise from this or something you think that could be done better. So let's begin. So we have here some names and some bowling scores and some dates here when they bold them. And I would like to just begin by showing you where the function is located and give you a very basic idea as to how to use it. So for example, if I highlight this data right here in cells C3 to C15, I think that's 13 cells, and I go to Format, Conditional Formatting, you'll see by default, Google will say, we'll format the cells if the cell is not empty. So you can see all of the cells that contain data are highlighted, and this is right now according to Google's default, which is that mint green color. If you click on it, you'll see some six predefined formats made by Google. I'm a fan of using my own custom format, so we can use the color palette and the styling palette down here to make those changes. Depending on what I'm using, I'll use the yellow background with red. That's for really important data. Sometimes I bold it just to make it stand out. So I'm going to do that for now. So as you can see, here's my first condition. The cells are not empty and it's highlighting them the way that I want them to highlight. But let's say we wanted to see all the bowlers whose bowling score is above, let's say 200. So I'm going to click on this conditions drop down, format cells if, and you can see the range of things that we can use. These are all built into Google Sheets. Later on, I'll show you how to custom make a formula. I'll actually show you that very soon. But let's say we wanted to highlight all of the data here, all the scores that are greater than, and in bowling, 200 is a pretty important number. So let's highlight the data that are above 200. And as you can see, when I select that, according to my styling, Google has now highlighted the four elements or the four cells that contain data greater than 200. I'll scroll through quickly and say, let's look at the ones that are less than 200. And you can see it highlights those. Let's look at the ones that are equal to 200. Let's look at the ones that are not equal to 200. And you can see, you can play around with these and get some different a feel for what you can do differently depending on the conditions. Now let's take a look at, perhaps you wanted to do a custom formula. Very often you will. These are very useful, but for some people very limited. So what I'm going to do is let's do a custom formula. And let's say I wanted to highlight the ones which are the one or ones which are of maximum value. So I'm going to tell Google, okay, let's create a rule, or let's create a highlight for the maximum value. What's important to note here is that we've highlighted a vertical column of data. And there are things you have to do to make sure that the data does not kind of drag down, or the comparison window does not drag down as you go. And we'll talk about that. What we're going to do is we're going to say, use our first cell, C3. So I'm going to say if C3 is equal to the max of the data between C3 and C15. Okay, and you can see now it's highlighting two different cells. Now, why is that happening? The reason why is when you have a vertical stack of data and you are using conditional format to a row or rather a column of vertical data, as Google makes the comparisons, it is saying, okay, C3 to C15, that is the comparison block for C3. Now, when it's going to check C4, it's going to drag down to go C4 to C16. So by the time I get to C15 at the bottom, it's comparing C15 to probably C27. And because there's no data, it is assuming that it is the maximum value. Well, clearly that's wrong. So when you write your formula, you want to actually write these as what we call an absolute reference. And I'll have this explained in another video where we talk about relative references and absolute references. And as you may know, to make an absolute reference, you're going to click on the dollar sign to freeze the column and a dollar sign to freeze the row. And I'm going to do that. And all of a sudden, everything is fixed. So now it's going to compare C3 just to C3 to C15. It's going to compare C4 just to C3 to C15 and so on. And as you can see, it highlights that the appropriate value. I can change this to min, and you can see it highlights there as well. So I'm going to click done, and now we're done with that data, and there we go. Now, if I go and click here while I'm still in the conditional formatting menu, if I'm in a block that contains a conditional formatting rule, it's going to pop up. I can delete it, I can click on it and edit it. I can change anything I want. I can change the formula, I can change the formatting style, and so on. So let's take a look at other things we can do. I'll try to do a couple of custom formulas. I think that's really where you'll do most of your fun and inventive stuff. But before we get to that, I'll just use some of the built-in functions so you can see what's happening here. Here are my dates ranging from, let's see, June 2021 up through, looks like November of 2021. And what I can do is I can highlight here. I'm going to add another rule for that same, for a different block now. I'm going to apply it to D3 to D15. And I'm going to apply a formatting rule that did not take my changes there. I'm going to use, let's say, the date is after. Let's do, the date is after October 1. And I'll do a different formatting style. I'll just do, let's do blue with white text. It's another, there we go. And you can see, obviously, how you could work with different values and find information or find cells that satisfy your conditions. I'm going to go back to the score column. So I'm going to click on this. I'm just going to hit done. We're going to keep that for now. I'm going to click back in here. And I wanted to show you also just a way to make this a little more functional using the scores. I'm imagining a scenario where you're looking at sales figures for employees, and maybe we have, let's say we want to highlight salespeople who are over $10,000 in a month. And then we want to have another color for salespeople who are between 5,000 and 10,000, and then maybe those who are below 5,000. It's up to you how you would format your data. But I can go here. I'm going to, I don't need to have the cells highlighted because it's already applying it to the range. Let me change this to data is between, and you can see that the two different boxes pop up. And I can say if the values are between, let's say 140 and 210, all of a sudden we have now shown the data that lie in between that range. Once you get to this drop-down menu, it's pretty self-explanatory. It will walk you through it. But where I think you'll have the most fun will be with the custom formulas. And you can check some of my other videos for custom functions that you can do. I'm going to stop here, but I will have another video where I show you just some custom formulas you can use. Trying to keep these videos to 10 minutes or less. So thanks for your attention. Don't forget that you can check us out at missionexcelcoach.com. Please like and subscribe this video. It's going to help us get started, get off the ground. And hopefully this is helpful to you, and hope to see you in a future video. Thank you.